March 2015, and I am being fired by the human equivalent of a pencil eraser, but with glasses. And I had been a grant writer in New York City. It was my first job when I moved here, and it was going to be me writing the life dream. And when I gave him the interview to get this job, John said that I had been given the best interview that he'd ever heard. Like, I was so good, like I came all over that interview, and he hired me right on the spot. And it had been going great for a little while, and then I think he started to not like me. And there were a couple of clues. For example, he told me that I was subpar, I was unskilled, I was incompetent. He was flummoxed as to why I was not living up to my potential, and both myself and my writing were simultaneously disappointing. Subsequently, I developed stress hives, I stopped eating, started going to therapy again, stopped sleeping, and fell into depression. And I spent practically the next 4 months that way on unemployment. And after a time I realized, well, you can't do this forever. You only have 2 months of unemployment left, but also you have to get back on your feet. This is why you moved here to New York City, to write, to be creative. Like, you have to do something, Courtney. July 2015, I was offered the job of camp director for an all-girls summer camp in Bryn Mawr, Pennsylvania. It was going to be 18 days for 48 teenage girls, ages 12 to 17. Now granted, I had personally never run a camp before, but I had gone to camp as a kid. I went for 2 years at like a lake and log kind of camp, and I absolutely loved it. It taught me self-confidence and responsibility, and camp is the kind of place, if you've been, and I hope you've been, is the place you find your people, you find yourself. Like, it really is an opportunity, despite it being 20 years later and now being 30 years old having to return to camp, that it could do the same thing for me that it did when I was younger. Now, granted, I was not necessarily qualified on paper for this position, but I strongly believe in transferable skills. Some of my transferable skills are that I was once a girl, so of course I could be with 48 of them. I am a staunch supporter of the Golden Girls, and I feel that those 4 strong ladies can prove anything to teenage girls, and why wouldn't you want to hang out with me, who loves and talks about the Golden Girls all the time? I have a cat, Lucille Bluth's cat, and despite her complete indifference to me, I've managed to keep her alive, so like, how's that not with teenagers? And I have a playwriting degree, which totally qualifies me to do everything in life all the time, because playwriting degrees, they put you out into the world with a lot of life skills. I have been able to eat an ice cream cake on an empty stomach and with a little determination, so I feel like I can totally do this as well. And the thing about camp that I was most excited about is this is a girls' empowerment camp. And the world is a different place than it was when I went to camp back in 1995. So I'm gonna empower these girls like just all the fucking time, right? Like, I'm just gonna empower them, and they're gonna be friends and responsible and self-advocates, and they're gonna be thanking me at their weddings for all the empowerment that I'm gonna be doing for them. And like, this situation right here is like a strictly a people in situation and not a people out situation. So this is the only chance I'm gonna get to pass off the Courtney gene. So I'm gonna take it. Because I'm the camp director also means that camp starts for me before it starts for everybody else. And it's sending emails and pamphlets. That means that my cell phone is out there. And that means that my cell phone is really out there for 48 sets of parents. As we've established as a strictly in situation, I could not have anticipated the questions that parents came up with, because they come up with a bunch of questions that non-children people would never consider questions or ask somebody in the first place. I get a phone call from Mrs. Topino asking me about the laundry situation at camp. I'm a little confused because I've also sent this email that I thought was very thorough and answered every question a child person could ever want answered. And she's like, so like, what's the deal with the laundry? I'm like, well, if you read the email that I sent you, but clearly you didn't, and that's a different conversation for a different day, you would know that there's laundry on site. So like, she just has to bring detergent, it's totally gonna be fine. And she says, yeah, but like, what if she doesn't do her laundry? And I said, well, she's gonna have chances. Like, if she doesn't do it, then she can just do it like tomorrow. Like, it's fine. She's like, what's the laundry situation though in Bryn Mawr? And I'm like, I don't understand your question. She says, well, I was thinking that I could just hire a laundry service, and then you can make sure that they pick it up, and then they drop it off, and then she doesn't have to worry about doing her laundry. And I say, no, that's not gonna happen. And she says, well, but like, what if my daughter doesn't do her laundry? And I finally say, well, then she smells. And I say, see you at camp. Which seemed very obvious to me. I just feel like I'm just changing lives left and right. Like, this hasn't even started. These girls are just so self-reliant. And the other thing I loved about this camp is it had a profound no electronics policy. You bring it, I take it. You only get your cell phones if you bring it when you go off campus because that's a safety thing. But otherwise, you shouldn't have it. Like, you're being sent here to interact with other humans your age. Mrs. Scott calls me. She says, well, my daughter has summer homework, so I was thinking that she could bring her laptop to campus to be able to do her homework. And I said, so we're both in agreement that you understand that she's not supposed to be bringing this, right? And she's like, yeah. And I said, okay. So I'm not sure why you're calling me right now. And she said, well, she has homework. And I said, well, she could do it before, she could do it after, but not during camp on a laptop. She goes, yeah, but what if she doesn't do her homework? And I said, I think that's really a you problem, not a me problem. But she said, I was thinking that she could just bring her laptop and she can keep it in her room and then nobody will know that it's there. And I say, well, like, I'm gonna know it's there. I feel like that's a problem, so no. She goes, but like, what if she doesn't do her homework? And I say, she could totally print it out and I'm happy to provide her a pencil and she could do it during camp, but she just can't bring her laptop. Okay, great, see you at registration, bye. And I hang up. That was one of the 12 phone calls that I received from parents before camp, which when you do the math is 25% of my parents calling me to have special rules already created for the children before camp started, despite the fact that they read, signed, and paid for a camp that had no electronics and a lot of self-sufficiency. And this concerned me on many levels. Like, one, I don't have kids. We've established that's never gonna happen. But I just don't understand why you're calling to already make rules for them when you're sending them with the purpose of having to follow these rules. And I remember when I went to camp that my mom, she just dropped me off and she said, have a great time. She gave me a bunch of envelopes with stamps, and then she said, you don't have to send letters if you don't want to, but like, have a great, we'll see you in a week, okay? And as they were driving away, I just waved. And that was what I kind of thought should happen. It's not exactly what's happening right now, so I'm gonna just file this back of my mind that helicopter parents are a real thing and that I'm gonna have to deal with them. Camp then begins. We spend 3 days prepping for camp. We decorate the dorms, we put signs in everybody's rooms, and we just make it really homey, and we do our training. And I get to lead training, and we learn some very valuable things. Like, for example, you should never be alone with any of these girls under any situation. It's really for your own safety, it's not even actually for their safety. You also, if there should be a problem, I came up with this warning system, and you just pat your head ever so slightly to alert the adults that there's a situation going on, and the students will not be alarmed in the slightest to see adults just patting their head for no reason. And then third, you do not eat the salad bar because that gives you profound diarrhea. After the first day starts, which is a Sunday afternoon, it's July 26th at noon, the parents come in and they're excited, and they've got their bags and their books and their stuff, and first stop is sign in, and second stop is stop at camp director because she has made 48 Ziploc baggies with your names on it all ready to go, because I love me some organization, to take your cell phones because I know you brought them just in case. And the girls come up to me with their phones and they aren't really understanding why I'm taking them from them. And I don't understand why they don't understand. And they're horrified at what is occurring to them as I'm taking their souls from them in this very moment. And like, you can put it in the bag yourself, but like, no matter what happens, this is going in the bag. And they're just like, Mom, like, Mom, she's taking my phone. Mom. And I was like, contract. There's a thing that you, when you signed up, you had to sign. I have it here. Like, do you remember that? And the girls go like, oh, yeah, my mom gave me like a piece of paper or something, right? And like, he just like, I saw, yeah, like that thing. And then he said, yeah, that said you're not gonna have your cell phone at camp. And so this is a lesson in learning to read what it is that you put your signature on. Just checking that box off. Are you gonna charge it for me? And I said, no. That's yeah. And they said, well, can I have the charger? And I said, I don't know why you want it. You have nothing to plug it into. Go to your room and make some friends with your word mouse and not your finger mouse. Like yeah. We bring them outside and we sit them in a circle and we introduce ourselves and I say, hi, my name is Courtney, I'm your camp director. I want you to have fun, camp is exciting, you're gonna learn about yourselves and each other and make lifelong friends and it's gonna be great. I also just don't want you to die, and that's why I'm here. I am here to make sure you don't die. And I want you to have a great time, but I also don't want you to die. And I leave them to their icebreakers. And I'm, because in charge, I have to go and do paperwork and get everything set. And I don't get to participate in the icebreakers, but I get to come up with the icebreakers. And I thought that this was the coolest thing, and it was called the Frozen T-shirt. And I can't do it justice by just saying it out loud, so I made one for you guys. And what you do is you take a T-shirt and you just knot it up as many times as you can, and then you soak it for a very long time. And then you put it in the freezer for an equally amount of time. And then you give it to the girls in their groups, and they work together to untie it, and they put it on, and the first group wins, and it's like, yay, so exciting. And I thought that was fun. It's summer, it's hot, like that's different. And I send them on their way. About 6 minutes later, I'm inside doing paperwork. And I see two of my counselors coming down the walkway, Tanvi and Mallory. And there's someone else, but I don't really see what that person is, but I do feel that I see them hunched over. Oh, it looks like they're patting their heads, but why would they be patting their heads? Camp just started, and then I go, oh shit, they're patting their heads, and that is way more alarming than I thought it was going to be. They come inside and they bring in Sydney, who it turns out is bleeding profoundly from the face. Snot coming out of her nose and tears just falling from her eyes because she's been hit in the face with one of my Frozen T-shirts. Still knotted up. See, what happens when you give a group of girls a Frozen T-shirt is not what you think should happen. The girls took the T-shirt and thought the best way to untie it would be to throw it at a tree. Oh. Yeah, they threw it at a tree because throwing a frozen object at a tree unties it every time. I thought to myself, have you guys never tied a shoe? Like, is this situation that serious that you've all Velcroed up until age 15? 2, science classes are not helping us in the public situation. And 3, I really have a lot of self-advocacy and speaking up problems if the girl who said, let's throw it against a tree had the best idea and everyone was like, yeah, that's it, let's do that. And they all agreed to it immediately without any kind of discussion. And Sydney was in the way of that Frozen T-shirt. Bounced, hit her clear in the face, smashed her face clear open. And now I have to take her to the emergency room within the first 10 minutes of camp. We get in the campus security van to take us to the emergency room, and I find myself saying things like, guys are gonna love a great personality, and I say things like, you can smile with your eyes, and everybody loves a good scar story. You're gonna be the coolest one here, and she's not buying it. And then I realize I also have to call her parents, which I have not done yet. So I get on the phone and I reach Sydney's mom and I'm like, hi, Sydney's mom, this is Courtney, I'm the camp director. So I'm calling because, oh yeah, Sydney's fine. And in the fine way, I mean she's not dead. She got hit in the face with the Frozen T-shirt and she's kind of bleeding from it, but we're totally gonna be okay. We're on our way to the ER, but I have a couple questions. If we have surgery, we're gonna be okay, right? Like you're cool with that? Not that I think that's gonna happen. It's probably a stitchy situation, but just in case, like we're good, you're good. No, she can't talk to you right now because she's got a red Solo cup underneath her mouth catching blood. But I'm gonna tell her you said that, and we're gonna go now, so I'll talk to you later. We'll talk to you later. Okay, bye. Yep, And I just hang up the phone. When we get into the ER, the intake nurse, the doctor, the nurses in the emergency room, just complete strangers and I have the same conversation for 4 hours straight. And I go up and I say, hi, I'm here with Sydney, and we need to see a doctor. What happened? She got hit in the face with a frozen t-shirt. The t-shirt was frozen? Uh-huh. Was she putting this shirt on? No, someone threw it against a tree. Okay, let me back up on this. So a frozen shirt hit a tree and it hit her in the face. Uh-huh. What? How did the shirt get frozen? I did it. You did? I thought it was a good idea at the time. How frozen? I froze it for 2 days. Wanted it to be really frozen for the icebreaker, and I get that right now, an icebreaker. Uh-huh. So are you her mom? Nope, not her mom. Who are you? I'm the camp director. And you froze the t-shirt? Yep. Yeah, I thought the same thing you are right now. Why am I in charge? I get this. Sydney had never been away from home before. She had never been to the ER before, and she had never had stitches before, and she got all of that all at once in her first 10 minutes of camp. Several hours later, I had thought about the preconceived determinations that I'd come up with about running a camp to arm myself with my transferable skills. And I had thought about when I was in camp, and I thought, okay, so I'm going to be there with 12 to 17-year-old girls. What is it that I should be expecting? Crying. There's going to be some form of crying for a little while, and admittedly, I was expecting that entirely because it's just new. And new is hard at any age, but 13-year-olds, everything is a big deal. And like when I returned, the girl who didn't bring enough stuffed animals was throwing a fit. And I was like, okay, that feels like a higher level than I expected in the crying, but like, okay, I'm gonna deal with that. Like, we're all here, it's all new. Crying, just a little bit. I was also expecting blood, but not from the mouths, from the vaginas. And that was because we're 48 girls here all together all at once, and I totally have been there, the girl who gets her period at camp, and I'm expecting that to happen. So I have bought every tampon, panty liner, Kotex, thick, super sporty, scented, thin, flexible, anything that you can think of that's going to collect blood inside underwear. I am prepared for it. I know that this is going to go down. It's only a matter of when. And I'm also thinking that all girls camp, probably going to be a couple lesbians. And by that, I mean a couple girls who are in that just experimenting phase of their life, and they're here now and nobody knows them, so they might make out with each other, and we're not going to talk about it when we get home because what happens at camp stays at camp. And I was prepared for that, and I thought, it's okay, like I'll deal with it when I come to it. And when I get back and it's bedtime now and I'm putting the girls away, the level of crying is definitely a 65 out of 10. And there's a lot going on, and I have a lot of just girls, just my staff, trying not to touch them because we're really not supposed to touch you, so it's a lot of just like, I'm sorry, we were sad. And then there were girls crying because they wanted their phones immediately that evening. And the thing they didn't know about me is I love rules. Rules beat tears every time. We spent a lot of time consoling girls, and they finally go to sleep. And I have a packet of papers waiting for me to read. Because the parents, when they're dropping off their kids, fill out forms and they leave like an additional information section because I have to make sure, you know, I know everything about each one of these girls. That's my job. And my preconceived notions come up against reality in this moment. And I couldn't have predicted what it is that I was about to read. And it was jarring. 50% of my girls came in with severe mental health issues and were on serious medication. Xanax, Prozac, Zoloft. Some girls taking pills in the morning and pills in the evening. And I had a girl with a mood and anxiety disorder as early as age 6. Another girl who was going to therapy twice a week while she was at camp, and the mother said, well, she's going to stop that while she's here. And I was like, you are the one girl I'm giving the cell phone back to. I don't feel like that is the thing that you should be doing right now. Another thing that I couldn't have expected was the profound attachment to their phones. And parents in the section of the additional information saying, I'm sending my child here because they need structure. I want them to be unplugged. I need them to be able to be in the world. And I was like, okay, like clearly there's something that you're not able to do at home that you're sending them here for. And in conjunction with that, 30 out of my 48 girls had never been away from home before. Now they're all gonna be away from home together for 2 straight weeks, and that's a lot of girls, right? Like parents thought that experimenting on a 2-week, $4,000 camp was better than experimenting on a 2-semester, $40,000 college, and I totally understand that, except I now have all of those girls all at once. I had several of my girls coming from out of state. I had girls coming from Colorado, I had 2 girls coming from Japan, several girls from down south, Virginia, Massachusetts, upstate New York. We're in Pennsylvania. And I do have to say, I question if there are no camps at all in Colorado, like not one that you can send your kid to. Maybe there's 3 of you could all form a camp together. It was just very strange to me that they would send their kids so far away for something that was ostensibly an arts camp. Like it wasn't so unique. And I filed all of this away the way that I did the parents' information. And I did have a little concerns going to bed that night. You know, that's a lot of change. It's a lot going on with these girls. They don't remind me of me the way that I thought that they would. And I just need to be careful. And so when I wake up the next morning on our first full day, and Colleen, who is 16 years old and comes to me with a bulleted list after her first day of classes. And I know she's 16 because the bulleted list is like little sunflowers. And I was like, that's so cute, but what you wrote to it is not at all cheery next to it. She says, I have this for you. I want you to read it. And I say, okay. And it's a list of why she hates camp. And it says, my air conditioner is too loud. Okay. There's too much walking. Okay. My teacher looks like a Who from Whoville. Okay. She goes, camp is too long. What is it that you want? I want to go home. So you've only been here, like, literally a day. You want to go home already? And she's adamant. And I think, okay, well, I'll call her mom, and I get her on the phone, and I say, hey, you know, Colleen wants to come home. And she goes, yeah, we've tried sending her a couple camps, but she just never takes. She's never called this soon, but I'm not surprised you're calling right now. I'll come get her tomorrow. And I said, you do know I'm not giving you a refund for this, right? Like, this is a strictly you situation. She goes, yeah, I'll come get her tomorrow, and she hangs up the phone. And I was like, oh, that is not what I was expecting, because I was talking about like how brave you are, Colleen, and you can do this, and the mom's just like, yeah, I'll come and get you. And my mom, if I had called her on the first full day of camp and said, I want to go home, would have said, yeah, you know, you could be pregnant and have a kid at 17, so you need to buck up and hang up. Have a nice time. And that's what I was expecting. That's what I was prepared to do. But Colleen, she's going to go home, and I already feel like, oh, like I'm a little concerned I'm not doing right. Like, ooh, what can I do better? And morale is a little bit low, and so the thing that I think is going to make a very exciting activity, actually not that one, what I think is going to make a very exciting activity is we're going to do karaoke that night, and I also am thinking about what is different about these girls, right? Like ages 12 to 17, if you've ever been a girl, is a very large gap. Like a lot happens. And 12 to like 13, 14 is a bunch, and then like 14, 15, 16 is a bunch. And the 12-year-olds, they're so different from the 17-year-olds, but they're also like my favorite because they just don't give a fuck, right? Like 12 and 13-year-olds are still just like, I'm gonna wear these weird sandals with these leggings and this skirt that I made by myself, and I'm just gonna listen to the music that I like, because they just don't care yet. Like Eve, who wore a fisherman's hat every day because she's just like, that's how I do me. And I was like, yeah, you do you. Or like the young girl who she wanted like her Snuggie Wuggie, and she was openly talking about her Snuggie Wuggie because that is meaningful to her. And I was like, oh, okay, well, I'm sorry you don't have your Snuggie Wuggie, and I'm not going to continue to say Snuggie Wuggie out loud, but you know, if that's what happens for you. And then, you know, like the 12 and 13-year-old girls, in the way that young girls love their grandfathers, were in love with the campus security guy, Barry, who drove me to the emergency room. See, Barry came and he did our fire safety with us, and the girls, they kept asking me if we could set a fire because they wanted to prove to Barry that they could stop, drop, and roll. They were so in love with him, and they just wanted to keep coming back. And 17-year-olds were instead getting dressed up to go to the food hall because they wanted to impress the guy who gives them the hash browns in the morning. And they would say to me, you know, my mom said that I'm not allowed to sit on my ass all summer at home, but I'm just going to sit on my ass all summer here, okay? Okay. And I was like, oh, oh, okay. Like I'm too late to you. Like I can't combat that. That's already built into you.
And we're gonna do karaoke on Tuesday night, and we're gonna sing Taylor Swift and have a great time, and everyone's gonna like it. And it goes well. I think they have a good time. But it's blindsiding when around 11 o'clock at night, girl Meredith, she comes down the hallway with a bundle of 9 Bic razors tied together with a hair tie just like this. And she sticks her arm out. And she says, I can't trust myself with these, you have to take them. And she runs down the hall. And I stop her and I say, Meredith, you didn't take your medication yet, because she's one of my 50% girls, and it buys me just enough time. This is a suicide in the making, and I'm a mandated reporter here in Pennsylvania, and that means I either have to call her parents to come pick her up immediately, or I have to hospitalize her, and I don't want to hospitalize her. So I call her parents, and I have to wake them up at 11:30 at night, which is what no one wants to ever have to do. And I have to say, your daughter said that she might harm herself this evening, and you have to come get her right now. They live 4 hours away. I have to stay up with Meredith, making sure she doesn't harm herself. Now, I stay up by just kind of sitting there and keeping myself awake and doing paperwork. Meredith keeps herself awake by watching Edward Scissorhand on DVD, because that's ironically the only movie she brought for movie night. And her parents finally arrive, and they come in and they say, what happened? And I tell them what I know. And then I say, but you should really talk to your daughter about that. And then she says, can I talk to you for a second? And I said, okay. And she says, you see, the thing is, this isn't really a good time for us, because I'm remodeling my bathroom, and Meredith, I think she really wants this, so like, is there a way she can stay? And I was like, no, she said she's gonna harm herself, ma'am. She has to go home. She goes, yeah, but I've got a lot going on, and the bathroom's taking up a lot of my time. And I was like, I don't think you understand right now. You have to take her and go. But see, there is one way that Meredith can come back, and she can get a psychiatrist's note saying that she is mentally fit to return to camp. And then the mother signs a legal waiver saying she won't sue us if anything happens. And the mother then says, okay, I got that. Don't worry, we'll be back. And then she leaves. And I am very worried that she is going to be back. I don't want Meredith back. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm happy that Meredith thought enough to come to me in that time to give me these 9 Bic razors. I'm also questioning why she was sent to camp with 9 Bic razors and she only has 2 legs for 14 days. But that's a whole other set of questions. I don't have the time, though, because it's 3:30 in the morning and I have to go to bed. And when I wake up 3 hours later, there are 2 girls standing in front of my door. Now, normally when I've been waking up, there are several girls standing in front of my door crying because they want me to give their cell phones to them. And I don't want to give their cell phones, so I just say, you need to just go, like, eat some eggs right now and have a nice day. Sophie and Tommy are there for a different reason. They say, Miss, can we talk to you? And I say, okay, come in. And they come into my office. You leave the door open. You shouldn't be alone with these girls. And they say to me, another girl in camp is touching us. I say, oh, that is not what I thought was going to come out of their mouths. And so I take a couple minutes and I say, oh, okay, like, what's going on, ladies? And they said, well, she's touching our butts and she's pinching our cheeks and sometimes she holds us down. And I said, okay, well, have you told her no? And they said, yeah, we've told her no, but sometimes she stops and sometimes she doesn't stop. And, like, she's our friend, but, like, it's making us uncomfortable. And I was like, no, I totally understand and I appreciate you being here right now. And I'm simultaneously thinking, like, I don't have, like, one of those, like, SVU dolls to point to, like, where are you being touched? And, like, that's all I know about being able to talk about touching. And I say, do you feel that this is, like, sexually assaulting you? And they say, no, we don't think it like that, but it just feels uncomfortable. And I was like, okay. What do you want me to do? And they said, well, we just want to let you know, and we're okay though. And I say, okay. And I send them on their way, and I'm like, okay. I worry that it is indeed sexual assault, and that they're just too young to not know it is, and should I press this harder? But at the same time, I'm going to take these girls at their word for right now, because they were old and brave enough to come to me, and I think if it had been more serious, they would have said so. So I switched the toucher out of their class, and I spend the day having to pretty much interview the rest of camp about what has been going on. And I have to call my boss and tell him, and I've got to deal with all of my crying girls still. And there's a lot going on, and it does turn out that Julia is touching these girls. And it's unfortunate. And I bring Julia in, and I say, Julia, the girls came to me, and they said that
you have been having issues with touching them. And she goes, yeah, but that's how I show my friendship. And I said, okay, well, I understand that, but you're 15 and these girls are younger than you, and that's just not appropriate. So you can't be touching anybody, okay? She goes, well, but like that's how I do it. And I said, well, here you can't. And this is your only warning. If you touch anybody, I will have to remove you. Do you understand that? She goes, yeah, oh, okay, like I understand. And I said, but like literally, I don't care if you have to tell me you have a rash, if somebody comes to hug you and you drop to the floor, like whatever it is that you have to do not be touched or touch anybody. And I make her sign a contract, and I make sure she reads what it is that she is signing. And we agree that she is going to touch nobody for the rest of camp. And I have to pretend everything is okay because I'm in charge, right? Like, bright eyes, big smile, camp is great, you're great, we're gonna be great, like this is the best fucking summer of your lives. And I've got a little reprieve because Wednesday is also Starbucks and Froyo Day, so I send all of the girls out with their phones off campus, and I stay behind to do the three things that I'm really great at right now, which is plan, paperwork, and diarrhea. And in addition to that, I get to teach all of their parents how to use Facebook. Because parents don't realize that while they're making all of these comments on the photos that I'm posting, that I literally am seeing every single one of these, in particular, when they're talking about me and getting it wrong. And I'm like, this is fabulous. Facebook lessons to 40-year-olds. And the kids come back after I've taught their parents how to use Facebook from Starbucks, and they are having to give their phones back, and they're crying, and we just have a little more time, and I'm just like, put that shit in the bag and get out, because you crying in here is just bothering me at this point. And so when a cell phone is being handed back in by Samantha, she looks at me and she says, my mom and dad want to talk to you right now. And I was like, ooh, girl, I feel that, because I remember being a 15-year-old girl, but I'm usually the one handing the cell phone, being like, my mom wants to talk to you. And I'm like, shit, now I'm an adult on the other line of this. And I say, okay. We sit down. And we get on the phone, and I spend the next 10 minutes listening to Samantha's parents tell me how awful I am. My camp is, again, subpar. I am not doing a good job. Their daughter isn't allowed to have their phone to go to bed to listen to music. She has to walk across campus with other girls, and she has to sit in class with 13-year-olds. And she can't stay up late, and there are all these rules, and she's not having a good time, and I am not good at this camp, and I am not making it fun, and they heard that other girls are also not having fun. And I listen, and I think about, as Samantha is sitting there watching this, her mother, who had just some time ago said on Facebook, so everybody and myself could see it, what an amazing registration, how great camp is gonna be, and just like John, I went from doing the best thing to the worst thing in short time. And Samantha's just sitting there, and I'm like, you know what you're doing. And it's killing me because you never talked to me about it. And they finally get off the talking podium, and I say, okay, I'm sorry to hear that. I'm sorry that your daughter's not having a good time. I'm sorry that she is so miserable having gone to Starbucks this evening. I'm sorry that you want me to do my job by keeping her safe so she walks across campus with another girl. Like, that's why you sent her here, right? To be safe. You want me to do my job, but in doing my job, it seems that that is the very problem that we're having here. But it's not like you're asking your daughter to talk to me about it, but instead right now, you are setting the example for her. They said they'll be picking their daughter up in 30 minutes, and they expect a refund. And I say, okay, and I hang up the phone, and I say, Samantha, go pack, your parents are coming to get you. And she says, oh no, don't worry, I already packed before I went to Starbucks. And I was like, oh, so you do know how to do something on your own. Meredith's mom calls while I'm on the phone to tell me that, don't worry, Meredith will be back tomorrow because they got that psychiatrist's note. And another girl in another room at this now 11 p.m. hour wants to talk to her mother, and you know what? I'm fucking tired of talking to parents right now, so I say no. You need to go to bed, but if you feel that way in the morning, we can think about calling your parents, but really, go to bed. And she says, well, if I don't get to talk to my parents, I'm gonna kill myself. And I was like, you are not gonna kill yourself, but I now have to call your parents because now you're gonna get what you want. And I call her parents and I say, your daughter just said that she was gonna kill herself if they didn't get to talk to you, but you now have to come pick up your daughter, and these parents live 5.5 hours away and have to come pick her up. And I have to stay awake while their daughter joyfully packs because she's going home. And her mother comes and gets her around 4:45 in the morning, and I go to bed. And I wake up the next morning to several missed calls and emails from parents whose kids had just gotten their cell phones that short order the night before, also telling me that their kids weren't having fun, but in particular they weren't having fun because they didn't have their cell phones. And I am at this point enraged because you sent them here knowing that they weren't going to have their cell phones, so like, why is this such a huge problem right now? Like, why is it that you're calling me instead of asking your children to do the thing that you sent them here for? And then, like, what is the problem with this camp? Like, I think we have some really cool activities. We're doing spa night, and we're doing glow stick carnivals, and I didn't want that one just here. And we're doing like really fun things, but the parents are telling me that how awful I'm doing, and I'm starting to believe them because I just had 2 kids say they wanted to kill themselves, then not be here. And a girl is touching other girls, and a lot of crying girls. And that's when I find out that Julia is still touching these girls. And I pull Julia in. And we go over this very list that she signed. And I said, Julia, you're still touching these girls. And she said, yeah, but like they're touching me, so I thought it was okay. And I was like, no, we definitely went over that. And she said, okay, well, it's not for very long. And I said, no, that also, no. And she goes, well, but like that's how I show my friendship. And I'm like, you know what? It is very frightening to me that you have come up with a pretty much an excuse for every reason that you have done this, knowing that while you were doing it, you were going to have to come up with these excuses. Like, it is scary to me that you don't blink, but it is even scarier to me that you thought all of this. And I have to call your mother. And I get her on the phone and I say, hi, Julia's mom, your daughter is touching other girls at camp, and I can't have that, and she now has to go home. And the mother says to me, I'm not surprised you're calling me right now, because Julia has an impulse problem, and this isn't the first time that we've had this conversation. And I said, you know that additional information section on your application? You wrote that Julia had been in a commercial with Bobby Flay. I feel like you should have told me that she has a touching problem instead of a Bobby Flay. Like, why did you not leave that information in there? Because I did the math, and Julia could essentially touch 4 girls every day and never repeat for the entire time that she's here. She has to go home now. And the mother and the father then say, well, we're not going to come get her. And I said, well, I'm going to put her on a train. I'm going to send her to you because this girl's about to be 16, and this is going to be serious. I'm standing between 2 girls being touched and your family having serious issues. And the father says, well, I want a refund. And I say, no, this is not a refund. And he goes, well, I'm not going to come get her unless I get a refund. And I go, you are holding your daughter hostage for money. Your daughter who has problems hostage. I feel more concerned for your daughter than you feel concerned right now, sir. So you need to come get her. And we finally agree that he will come get her, but not until Saturday, because he can't be burdened to come during the week because I can't do my job. And in between all of this, Meredith has returned, much to my chagrin. And Brenna has come up to me because she also wants to go home. And I spent a lot of time with Brenna at this point, and she's been crying in my office, say, 2 hours a day, every day for the last 5 days. And at first I was sympathetic, and I gave her the not hug backpack situation. And I have gone through by this time close to 18 boxes, full boxes of Kleenex tissues. I've lost 4 pounds from diarrhea and stress. I've lost 6 girls because of different issues with them, and this girl wants to go home. And you know what? I want her to go home too. Because I am tired of her crying in my office. And no matter how much I tell her I'm brave, what I really want to say is, you crying in here is not making any friends because no one wants to talk to the crying girl. So you need to go back out there and make some friends and not cry. That's why you have a problem. But I can't say that. Instead, I call her mom. And they say, yeah, okay, like, yeah, she's never made it through camp before, but we thought maybe this time it was going to take. And I say, can you come pick her up? And the father doesn't want to come pick her up, but he wants a refund in order to pick her up. And I say, sir, I'm not going to give you a refund. Your daughter wants to go home. And he agrees reluctantly to come get her on Friday. So by Friday, I'm worn out, I'm tired. My teachers are sad, they're angry, they're wary. I can't blame them for all of this. Some of them are talking about wanting to quit. A few of them have called lawyers because they're afraid they're going to be sued. I am planning a field trip for Saturday. It's Wildwood, which I think is pretty cool, right? Like, these girls are all going to go to the beach. That's fun, right? So we're having a good day because they think they're all going to the beach the next day. So in the evening when the girls were all getting ready, Meredith is in the shower and she comes out and she's bleeding from the top of her leg. And I say, Meredith, are you okay? You're bleeding. And she goes, oh, I'm fine. I cut myself shaving. And then she runs back down the hallway. And it takes me a minute. Meredith has razors. She cut herself shaving. Fuck, I have to call her mom now to come get her, even though her mother just dropped her off 24 hours before because she has contraband razors. The very thing that she said she was going to harm herself with, she got from another girl and cut herself in the shower. I have to call her mom up. And I say, ma'am, you have to come get your daughter because she cut herself shaving. And the mother is not angry with her daughter, but she is angry with me for having called her a second time to come get her daughter. And I say, I can't. You signed legal papers. She says, fine, I'll come get her. So Meredith's mom comes to get her, and then simultaneously Brenna's mom comes to get her. And Brenna's mom is one of those like Bluetooth headset moms, and she's just like weaving in and out and weirdly talking to the other girls. And I'm distracted by Meredith's mom because she's so angry at me, and I just don't feel right about what's going on. And I finally say, ma'am, you have to get your daughter and go. And they all finally leave. And when I wake up on Saturday morning, Julia's dad comes and gets her, and I put everybody on the bus and I send them off to Wildwood. And I'm by myself for the first time in days, and I'm doing paperwork and planning and kind of resting. And in the afternoon, I'm on Google Hangouts with my boyfriend, and I'm talking when Barry comes in with someone that I've never seen before, and I hear a voice. And he says, hi, anybody here? And I say, yeah, I'm here. And I go over, and he says, I'm Detective Langston with the Bryn Mawr Police Department, and I'm here looking for Courtney Antonioli. Oh, I'm Courtney. Shit, I'm Courtney. Okay. And I go to the Google Hangout and I just say, I have to go right now because the police are here, and I just hang up and I just walk away. And I'm like, so hi, what can I do for you, sir? And I talked to Detective Langston because a parent has filed a report against this camp because she said girls were touching other girls and there were strange things going on, and I'm talking and being interviewed by the police, and I'm thinking I'm in Jerry Sandusky's Pennsylvania and I am going to jail for these girls. Like, this is not okay. I did not sign up for this kind of a life change. And I realize it's Brenna's mom from last night because I didn't give her a refund. And then the detective says, okay, I get what you're saying. It's probably going to be fine. And I say, probably going to be fine? I don't really like the odds on that. And she says, don't worry about it. I'm like, I'm worried about it. And he goes, well, okay, well, I'll check out some more stuff. I'll call you. You're fine. And I'm like, I'm fine. And he goes, you okay? And I'm like, I'm okay. And he's like, don't cry. And I'm like, I'm not going to cry. Don't cry all over the place. And when Detective Langston leaves, and that's his card that I keep to this day with my actual case number, I have missed 12 phone calls and 9 emails from parents whose kids on this trip have called them saying that they're not having fun. Now, I don't know. Do they look like they're having fun to you? We're at the beach in the sun. I've just gotten done with the police. I think they're having fun. I'm not having fun. That is for certain. And the parents are now telling me that they're going to pick up their kids because they're not getting their phones and it's not living up to their standards. And by Monday morning, I lose in a total of 13 girls. On Sunday, between 12 and 6 o'clock, one girl goes home every hour. Now, the parents in the emails have said things like, we wanted to send our daughter here to have an impactful experience, but the impact she's getting from you is quite the opposite than what we thought. Our children are being scarred. One woman said that I was both disorganized and micromanaging, and I thought, I don't know how those things can live congruously with one another, but okay, I guess that must be true. And the parents aren't actually talking to me. You know, it used to be that my mother would say, what did you do wrong? Not what did they do wrong, but now it's what did I do wrong, not what did they do wrong. And not to say that anybody was wrong in this situation, but just what are all the facts? But I'm not given the opportunity, and these girls, I don't know how many times I ask them, how are they, what are they doing, what do they want to see changed, what can I do for them, and they don't talk to me. And I can't do anything about it. And I think about, like, Sydney, who, yeah, she got hit in the face with the frozen t-shirt, and she stuck it out, and she wanted to go home, and she called her mom a lot of times, and her mom talked, and her mom's like, honey, you gotta stick it out. And I was like, yeah, you go, Mom. And then she says, but Mom, I just thought I would go to community college and commute from home. And then there was silence on the phone, and I realized, like, they were both on different sides of that conversation. Ooh, I thought about the mom who showed up with cookies because she wanted the girls to be able to share all the cookies. You know, her daughter was going to bring them out. And I said, okay, yeah, I get it. And then I opened the box and there's only 12 cookies. And there's 48 girls. And I'm like, yeah, you're not going to cut up those cookies. I don't know how I can combat that because you know you're supposed to bring enough for the class. Like that is just basic 101 parenting, and you are helping to build the cliques that I am trying to break down right now. And I think about the phones, and I think, I don't know what it's like anymore in the world where these girls just cannot turn it off. They need to go to bed, to breathe, to do everything in this life. And I'm just not doing good enough. And I think about Hannah, for example, who she wanted to go home so badly. She was one of my 3 Colorado girls, and she called her mom all the time. And her mom finally broke down in the second week of camp and said, fine, I'll send you a plane ticket and you can come home. And then a couple hours later, the mother emails me. And she says, you know, I thought about it, and I want to go on vacation. I don't want Hannah to come home, so she's not. But can you tell her for me? And then I have to tell Hannah that she's not going home. And Hannah keeps calling her mom, but her mom stops picking up the phone, and then the voicemail gets full. And she says, is my mom okay? Because she's not picking up the phone, and I can't leave any messages. And I want to say, yo, your mom went on vacation instead of you coming home. Like, that is where it's at, girlfriend. Like, that shit is full because of you, and she's clearly not listening to those things, so you just need to, like, go outside and play some fucking soccer. Have a nice day. And instead, I'm just like, yeah, everything's fine. It's great. Just go make a bracelet with your new friends. Like, I have nothing for this. Like, I can't combat this. And I am so sad and so just, I think about the change that I thought I was going to make with these girls, right? Like, the most amount of change that I have made so far is in the girl who hasn't pooped in 5 days. And she comes to me and she says, I don't feel well. And I say, have you eaten any vegetables? Like, what's going on in your life? And she said, well, I had a creamsicle for breakfast. I'm like, that's not a vegetable. And she said, well, I had some macaroni and cheese and some tater tots, and I had some tomato sauce on my pizza. I was like, that is not a vegetable. And I give her a cup of coffee, and I tell her to see me at noon, and I changed her life. I think about Bobby, who was getting a letter from her mom every day, and every time she got this letter, she would just bust out crying. And you know what? I couldn't take it anymore, so I stopped giving her the letters. And they kept coming, and I just hid them in my dresser drawer. And on the last day of camp, I pretended that the mailman had just forgotten to deliver them all, and I'd give them to her. I helped her to stop crying. I changed the life of Ariane. So Ariane came to me halfway through camp, and she says, I need the Wi-Fi password. And I said, why do you need the Wi-Fi password, Ariane? And she said, well, because I read all the books on my Kindle, and I want to download some more. And I said, you're not supposed to have that Kindle, but I'm just really upset that you outed yourself in your stupidity right now. Like, you didn't think to pretend to get a real book, to go to the library, to get that Wi-Fi password off the wall taped. You instead outed yourself asking for it. Like, girlfriend, we got a lot of work, okay? And then I took that Kindle. And I ended camp the last night dressed in my 80s outfit, and my staff let in a pedophile. The guy knocked on the door and they let him in, and I don't know why. Stranger danger was clearly not something that we went over well enough during registration and orientation. And I thought, this guy came in and he said, well, I just saw like the TV on, and I thought maybe we could watch the debates together. And I was like, you are the worst pedophile ever if you're trying to get in here by saying that Hillary Clinton is on the TV, which it's not, because there were girls dancing in blacklight, and I'm clearly wearing this wig. But then I think I'm going to end up dead in a man's van with a cat t-shirt and a wig on, and that's how that shit's going to end. And camp does end with me alive on August 4th in the afternoon. And a parent gave me $20. He said, thanks for taking care of my kid. And I was like, this is not nearly enough money. And I think about the girls, and I think about camp, like, quite regularly, if you can tell. And the thing about it is, I think about, like, these girls are girls out in the world. Right? Like, these are girls who may have gone to college. We hope some of them went to college. Did Sydney go to college, or is she commuting from home while her mother silently sobs in the shower every afternoon? Like, I think about Brenna, and I think about Brenna's mom. See, I called Detective Langston sometime after, and Detective Langston said, you know, actually, this woman never followed up on this case, so we're going to close it. And I thought, that woman just did that to fuck with me. Just to fuck with me. And I don't know how I'm supposed to teach her daughter to follow through in life if you can't follow through with your own fuckery. Like, this is what I'm combating here. You know, like, good setting an example, ma'am. And I think about like the families that I brought together and their mutual hate for me. Like that is how I am bonding people together. You know, because a year later, parents were still writing about wanting refunds and how camp was so awful. And nobody, even though I tried, would take me up on my offer for a conversation, in particular the girls. And the other day, I was on the subway. And there was a girl sitting next to me. She was a young girl. She was about 7 years old. And she said to her mother, Mom, I want to play a game. And the mother turned and she was doing something else and just took her phone out and then just gave it to the girl, and the girl started playing. And in that moment, I realized that I think I never had a chance. See, the mother just didn't want to have a conversation with her kid. She didn't even stop to think about it. And the girl's just there on the phone, and that's how she's spending her time. And I remember being that age and I had a book or I had something else. And if they're just giving their kids the phones at 7, and say 5, 6 years later, I'm taking that phone away without a reason, they're never going to understand why. And I am the person taking it away, and I'm not the person who gave it to him, which makes it even worse for them, because that doesn't make any sense, right? Like, why is this stranger taking something from me that my parents said were okay? And the parents had sent them here for reasons, and when I followed through on those reasons, they didn't like it. And when I got home, I started going to therapy twice a week. I had lost 10 pounds. I lost 13 girls in the camp. I had bought in total about 24 boxes of tissues that those girls cried through. Get a couple things out of it. I got Mallory and I got Lyric. I got to find some of my people at camp. And I do think after 2 years, it's taken me a long time to be able to say this, that I did the best job that I could. And I think hopefully I changed some lives, that there's some girls out there who feel good about themselves, who are like one half of a broken heart necklace with their BFF that they found at my camp. I'm just not that BFF. And I was asked back a year later to run a camp. But this time I said no.